Oh, yay, I'm live. Oh my God. Oh, oh, I'm shocked this worked. 15 minutes of trying. So hopefully somebody's here. I don't know if anybody's here. I think I just need like a second of breathing and non panic. Mm. We'll see if people join at all. Um, it looks like a couple people left, and we'll see if anybody rejoins on this very big subject, which, to me, there's nothing that, how do I even say this? There's nothing that happens that is just uncoincidental or I don't even know if that's the word. Nothing just happens ever. Not just in my life, in everybody's life. It's our choice, I guess, of how we see it. But this is one of those topics that I had a lot of anxiety about, and not because I'm very um, loving in my own self and my own beliefs. But then also there's an anxiety because of the people and what these big subjects hold. So it's called Jesus Psychic Devil. And I didn't know what to say or like how to put that in. So I kind of gen out, what is it, Gen Alpha or whatever, use the terms in that way, just so it has a little bit more clarity, because we already know what those words mean, but together we don't know what they mean because they are also very controversial of words. So um, the chat is open, so you are very welcome to post any questions, even while I'm in the middle of talking. Please do post your questions on this subject. You have to be a subscriber to do so, so please make sure you hit the like button of subscribing to my channel, and then you'll be able to type right away. But I definitely want to talk about these subjects, how they actually are all related, um, and also how they are not what they seem. And because I have had to deal, and I say deal with, this energy a lot on these subjects, because of what I do, because I'm a psychic medium. And so ever since childhood, I kind of didn't understand um, the the energy, the heavy energy tied to each of these individual things. So going way back in childhood, I was actually around psychics, meaning it was in our household, not necessarily in our household, but in our awareness of our household, in the psyche of our household. It was never frowned upon. It was a little bit more like, ooh, fortune teller, or like, kind of the highlights of that, or the stereotypes of that. But it wasn't very in the way of, oh, wait, hold on for 1 second. I'm good. I'm good. It wasn't in the way of, oh, that's something we don't talk about, or like Ouija boards and all that kind of stuff. So one of the actually, to jump a little bit ahead, when I was in grade school, so like let's say fourth grade or something like that, I was introduced to Ouija boards. I knew intuitively, in my intuitive intelligence, that this was not a good thing. I did all, like, the typical, what is it? Straight as a board, light as a feather, straight as a board. We used to lift our friends up thinking they're going to, levitate with that, which I swear to God, that's exactly what happened in one time. I hated actually spooky movies. I didn't like to scare myself in any way, shape, or form, because I was so sensitive, and I did know I did have an intelligence. I do remember going to psychics, and I remember going with my parent and other people, and also as a family and stuff like that. And I remember this one psychic told me, I had really when I was really young, and my mom was concerned about certain stuff health wise, and so that psychic obviously really helped navigate that territory for her in a beautiful way. And but I did have one psychic I remember telling me um, that, and I'm really, this is a very shortened version, but she's just like, this is your last time here on earth. And I said, yeah, I know. And I remember being a little like, who am I to say that? Like, oh, like, do I know? Like, what do I know? Kind of thing. But there was that feeling of like, I did know. I knew things that were beyond, but I didn't know I knew things that were beyond our physical, limitations. So I did have a very more easier transition into understanding my psychicness. And again, like I always say, if you listen to any of my videos, psychic stuff is not a gift. Unless you understand everything's a gift, which I do. But psychicness is just literally another sense. It's just like you don't feel special, seeing, and a lot of other people see too, or taste, and stuff like that. So it's not something that I've just developed my psychic intelligence through practice, through honoring it, through allowing it to be me, and me be it, and so it is not separate from me. It is just who I am, the expression of who I am, and how I actually get my intelligence. That's really, really important. So some people get it through books. Some people get it through teachers. Some people get it through life and hard knocks. I get it through all of those, but I really, really get it through my own intelligence. So I'm asking myself, how do I feel about this? And I'm asking myself from a bigger place, not just what's affecting me literally in that way. So beyond the ego. Okay. So Jesus psychic, I'm going to try not to make this too long. So Jesus psychic devil. So this is the heated topic, or not even heated. This is the heaviness, because there's so much dogma around it. And I have really gotten to the point of pure frustration, also crying at humanity's not just ignorance, but it's like I feel like humanity loves to cut itself. It wants pain versus pleasure. It doesn't know how to understand pleasure, so it creates more war within itself, within each other. Which is really only within the self, and that war, is because we can't accept love, because love is too big, of a feeling. So it's so much easier to feel pain than it is to feel love, because love creates and offers and extends vulnerability. And we don't want to be vulnerable, or we believe we don't want to be vulnerable. We actually do, but we believe that's a weakness, and that's something to go up against, and that's too much. So I would definitely say that so having these big subjects is really triggering to our psyche, because we're so in fear that we're going to be told something differently that we can't accept. And I'm telling you, you're not going to learn anything differently in this, conversation. But what you are going to learn is an opportunity that it is safe to explore different what if. Okay. And we're going to move it and shift it from the what if from the mind and go into the heart of what would that feel like. Okay. So anything I'm saying, really kind of like be able to shift your mindset. So stay really open for you, not open to this video, open for you in your own safe space, and let what the words come out of my mouth, in the purest, highest form of love, let that go and resonate with you in a place of, can I hear this from a neutral place, from a non-reactional place? Okay. So Jesus psychic devil. Oh gosh. So I was going to go in the order that I just wrote it, but I got no. So here's the intel. Okay. So when I say I got no, Is there someone speaking to me? No. I don't hear something. I would love if I heard something, that would make my whole life much easier, but I don't hear something. Oh, here comes the fairies. If you saw a fairy going, oh, sorry. My thing is going to be backwards. So it was on one of these sides. For me, what I just saw, it was on this side. It was the little white fairy. So the information that comes through when I say I got ... Okay. What I'm doing is I'm connecting with my highest self. My highest self is in all consciousness. It is the understanding that we are all one, that this is entirety of love, that we do have a, not to like blow your mind, because we could go really far off into this. So we're going to stay more human, more 3D, versus 5D, information. But in the 3D perspective, that we all have souls, we all are journeying, we're all experiencing. This life is about experience, is about experiencing how to feel in this. Okay. It's not like having a happy life because ... It's having a happy life because of ... You know what I'm saying? So it's just like, you could take those two sentences, which are exactly the same, have a totally different, understanding about them. So maybe, write that down. So when I get intel, I'm asking my highest self. Okay. And I'm not even that literal about it, but for context, I'm going to say that. So I'm asking my highest self, and in that space of consciousness, which to me, all that is, okay. What I always say is we're raising our frequency, us in body. They, when I use the word they, it means our spirit guides, angels, and loved ones. I just called a spirit team because there's a lot more than just that of what I said. So we're raising in body, raising our vibration. They are lowering theirs. And we're meeting in this middle frequency. This middle frequency is consciousness. Okay. That's where I'm getting my intel. My intel does not come through my mind, but my mind is literally the computer that can go and translate it so I can understand it. It is not that someone or something is telling something to me. It's as if you have a thought, and do you think your thoughts are telling you anything? Sometimes, but not really. Most of the time, it's just a thought. Okay. It needs you to think it. That's where my intel comes from. That's why I also thought that psychicness wasn't really any big deal, because it wasn't separate from me. I was just like, what do you mean? I just listen? Now, how did I know I was psychic? That's another video. But in the short, very one sentence thing is, I didn't know. Nobody told me till later when I found out, but I didn't. I already was a psychic by this point. All these things, I had to trust myself in understanding that no one's going to tell us that we're intuitively intelligent. We have to go and trust that what we're listening to, it's not through the ears, it's not even really through the brain, it's the awareness. What you're listening to is awareness, okay? And this awareness isn't solving problems. Most people think that of like, oh, psychicness is the solving of a problem. It's not a solving of a problem. What psychicness is the alignment of how can I digest this easier? How can I be in alignment with my truth? How can I hear a bigger, different way, that my way was a great way, but can I put icing on it? The universe knows already what we want. It knows who we are. It made us, you know what I'm saying, in the 3D, or we made the universe. So who I'm talking to, same energy of understanding of who you are talking to or who you are listening to, is yourself. You're getting really good at listening to yourself. Okay. So you might want to pause the video for a second when it's not live, and just like let that settle in for a second. So when I say, oh, they are putting it out of order, when it's Jesus, psychic, devil, and I'm like, oh, I'm about to talk about Jesus, and I immediately get pulled to, nope, we're going to talk it about it backwards. Okay. When I get pulled, I listen. I don't argue. Most people argue. I argued a lot in the very beginning because I was like, no, I want it a certain way. That's the ego. So I learned so much to work with my ego. Doesn't mean you have to be like, oh, I'm so egoless. You're not. Don't be egoless. You're not supposed to be egoless, but you got to work with the ego. Okay. The ego, think of the ego as being like a 5-year-old kid who wants everything and they don't understand no, and it's just kind of like you sit them down, you either talk to them or you distract them. That's the best way. Okay. You sing to them or you distract them. I used to do, and I still do to this because I have a 6-year-old and also hello. And so when I say hello to that, I'm showing the energies that are coming through. So I'm acknowledging, I'm giving credit and validation that other energies are showing up in the physical form as that fairy energy just came through. So when when you treat a child, what you do is you literally can go and give them math problems. Okay. And math problem, when they're like temper tantrum, blah, 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 I'm like, what's 2 + 2? And I'm like, hey, do you know what 11 + 11 is? Oh my gosh, nobody answered that. Do you think you can answer that? And I say it to my youngest, child. And then what happens is their brain gets engaged. So their brain is like, when you're having a temper tantrum and you're all in your ego and you want it a certain way, you can't do anything else. So what do? Distract yourself. Don't numb out, distract yourself. Distract yourself with something else. Sometimes one of the ways to do that when I'm really when I have pain, let's say, I use actual other slight loving kindness pain to bring me back into my body. Let's say I'm like really, pain. I'll take an ice pack and I'll put it on my forearm. Oh, there I am. Oh, now all my attention's here, even though maybe I have a headache or something like that, a migraine or something. So those types of things, you're good with enormous amounts of love. You just are able to distract yourself because you want to use the ego, but you actually want to use it, not just allow it, free reign. So that's why I'm listening and I'm like, oh, we're going to go to the devil first. Okay. So the devil is a Christian-based creation. Okay. The devil does not exist in other religions. Most people think, oh, well, if you're pagan, the Christian religion will be like, well, Vanessa, if you identify with paganism, then what about that devil? I'm like, I don't know. Well, you believe in the devil? Okay. What do you think about the devil? Okay. So that's truth. Please research that and you could go down the rabbit hole of finding all that out. I don't know much about Christianity. I was almost baptized several times, and through the grace of my beautiful spirituality, that did not happen. And I'm so grateful that did not happen because I do not like being put in a box of some type of anointment in what others believe I should be. Okay. Even like, for instance, I do go to a church. I put that in quotes because it's not a church. It's a fellowship. And in that, I wasn't sure if I wanted to become a member because I'm not a member of anything, even politically, anything. So the reason why is because even in my fellowship, it is an interfaith fellowship, means it believes in whatever you want it to believe in. So, and some people are like, well, what's preached? And it's like, love. There's a lot of things beyond religion. So in that understanding and awareness, everything. So when someone talks about the devil, there is this kind of like, oh, well, you're not believing what I believe. And it's just kind of like, well, I'm not asking you to believe what I believe. I'm just talking and existing. Okay. So I've had so many people preach and put me into the devil space, and in a very aggressive, toxic way. So why does this bother me? It doesn't bother me. But what it does is that it creates a stigma and a fear that keeps on perpetuating itself. And People have been fucking burned by this shit, lost their lives, drowned, da 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 da. And I am so adamant on stopping this belief from bleeding out from the original belief. Okay. So if you have the belief of the devil, or that you have a thought system that you believe other people are listening to the devil, whether you call them a witch, or you believe that it's adultery, or if you believe it's somebody who is gay, or if it's somebody doesn't who eats meat on Sundays, I don't know. Whatever you believe, that is yours. Okay? So even if you project it to somebody else, it is still yours. It is not theirs, and it is not anything that they should take, believe, or accept. What you project in what you believe is entirely yours. You are allowed that in the sphere of life, in what you believe. I wouldn't believe that. I'm not really going to have too much of an opinion, except my opinion comes in when it's blasted on me and others like me. Okay. So one of the things I always, and I've written an article, I guess it was last year or something like that, and it was called Psychic Queer. Not queer psychic, but psychic queer. And the reason I wrote Psychic Queer, and I call myself that, is because I am more similar, if you want to put it on a label, in the queer community than in any type of other community that projects their beliefs onto me. Okay. So there's a big, I'm in Alaska right now, and where I live, and seasonally, and there's a big pride parade in Skagway. And I really wanted to go to it. And I was like, oh my gosh, such a bummer that it didn't turn out that I could go to it. And I really wanted to go to it. And then I was questioning, I'm like, well, why do I want to go to it? And I'm like, oh, well, a lot of it's really, for me, it's a lot of it is the support. So I can support others, that's really probably the biggest reason of why I go. I don't go there in the sense of being seen. I don't feel like I don't go, and I say that respectfully, in the way of where I don't need to go to queer parades or stuff like that to feel like, oh, well, this is my expression of me. I do that on my daily basis and that's why I also get a lot of shit for being who I am, as psychic queer, not queer psychic, like I said. So I'm already like that. So when I go to pride parades and stuff like that, there is a lot of belief systems. All the other people were like, oh, I wouldn't do that. Or like, oh, get these people off the street. Or I don't, all this nonsense and vitriol. When that happens, I'm not just helping support my LGBTQ plus T plus friends in the way of really kind of orbing them, because that's what I do all the time. Like, even like, I'm just going to give a real quick example. Before I started doing this video, because this video is so hot and heavy, I had to do a butt ton of Ho'oponopono on it, modern Ho'oponopono on it. So Ho'oponopono is really the forgiveness work of stuff that people can't forgive. You know what I'm saying? All the lashings that I have gotten as being a psychic. So now we have the devil. Okay. So I'm thinking, hey, I'd like to go to this pride parade. Oh my gosh, that'd be so much fun. Just to really support my brothers and sisters, essentially. and just give space for that. But then I also feel of that energy of being devilish, okay? Of what, meaning not from what I want, but from other people, from other people's belief. There's that devil energy. Like if you told them, oh, here in tarot, there's the devil card, they'd be like, oh my God, and imagine I were to like do tarot cards and then all of a sudden they get the devil card. Yeah, here's the energies coming through. I tell them they would freak out because they don't understand what the devil card is a symbol, a metaphor, and a symbolization of. Okay. So here's what happened just today, actually. And this happens constantly to me, constantly, is that somebody came up to me and they're like, hey, by the way, and I love this person. I'm so grateful that this person shared this with me. She's just like, hey, somebody saw you at this goddess party that I was part of. And the mother of this child saw you, and she freaked out, saying, oh, there was a lady who has a devil there. I'm like, first of all, you shouldn't be looking at pictures because the goddess party is completely private. So that's strike one. Now, I could have taken this two ways. The real way my ego wants to take it is I just want to strangle her. Like I hate stupidity like this. And it really is stupidity. And I'm not saying this person is stupid. I'm saying this person has an ignorance that they're not willing to learn or understand any greater than their fear. So their fear and their belief system is tied up in what the psychicness, I can list all the things of what they think is devil-like, but let's just say psychic, since I did Jesus, psychic, devil. So psychicness of how we're talking to the devil or whatever. Now, for those of you who are just joining us, this is what I was saying before, is that the devil actually was created by Christianity. Okay. It is not, no pagans believe in that. It was a manifestation from Christianity. Okay. So this is a belief tied to Christianity as nothing else. Okay. So, and even if that weren't true, it doesn't matter. The point is that it's a belief system. So then anyway, this woman came up to me and she's like, hey, at the goddess party, she's like, I'm thinking this person was talking about you. And I was laughing so hard because I was just like, oh my God, seriously, like grow up. So to the lady who was, so turns out I was dressed up as Black Moon Lilith. Okay. Woo, that's a sacred goddess energy, whatever. You could look that up. So it's very significant actually in that time frame of when I did that. So here I am, I get all this energy of this. And so, and on an energetic level, this person is also sharing, which most people do, and it's very, very common and normal. They're sharing it because they're also wanting clarity, like, well, you don't talk to the devil, right? Of course she knows I don't, but that's the energy because they're bombarded with people in their lives are like, we don't talk. Don't do that. Okay. So how you guys, when those people react to believing that it's the devil, the biggest thing that the first thing you could do is love them where they're at. Okay. There is a level of just really not knowing. And so they're caught in the dogma of it because they believe they do know. And it's kind of like, if you were to, everyone could agree the sky's blue. Okay. Everybody, you look up, well, not right now, it's gray, but let's just say we agree the sky is normally blue when it's not raining. Okay. Oh, the sky's blue. Now what happens when we all of a sudden realize that, hey, the parrots are saying, no, it's not. It's a total rainbow color, so it's a total rainbow color, that kind of stuff. It is literally our perception because of our brain to our eyes telling us that it is blue because of the light and how we see it. Okay. How we're made up as being human. So in that understanding, now we take the devil and we understand the devil is a belief. Okay. And just like that, we realize maybe we need to shelf the belief for a second and entertain what another understanding is. When I tell you things, it is not a belief system. It is an inquiry for you to do inquiry on what is showing up. Okay? That's it. Easy peasy. So the devil, I've had people ask me, well, what do you, when you have psychic stuff, which is going to lead in, now we're leading into the psychic part. When you have psychic stuff, what is the devil? How do you know you're not listening to the devil? I love this question. I was just like, is there a devil? Like, I was like, oh, okay. So here I am just totally like, what are you talking about? But it shocks me because it's just kind of like, then it makes this feeling of guilt that somehow I'm bad. You see what I'm saying? So they're taking their guilt of how do you know you're not? So there's an immediate belief of that you are talking to the devil. So therefore, how do you know you're not talking to the devil? But then I come in with this other belief of being like, well, there's no devil. So what are you talking about? So it's like there's the discord. Okay. So I'm going to tell you how I know I'm not talking to the devil, just straight out. I don't hear, sometimes I do, but essentially I don't hear information. Nothing is separate from when in psychic intel. I am not hearing it as if something is telling me to tell somebody else. Okay. Where I get my information, I call it the thought before the thinking. Okay. So I have this thought that just like flies in. It is definitely not my thought because it doesn't have a story tied to it. There's nothing else in the understanding of it. It just shows up. You know, when you think of someone out of the blue, just out of the blue, and then all of a sudden they kind of show up, that's psychic intel. Okay. Did you manifest that? Did you think farther about that? Is that the devil? Oh my gosh. Okay. So the other thing is that I always tell people is that, if they're, well, I'll tell you that in a second. Hold on. When I'm getting the intel, those thoughts are in the purest form of love. I purposely state that to myself that I will not tolerate anything or anyone's energy in my sphere at all. It is my highest self. It's not even my highest self. It's my highest connection to all that is. So in that understanding, that's where that information is coming through. So it is not through, even if it's like angels, okay? Let's say angels actually a lot of times do come through in readings and I see them. Sometimes I see their wings. Sometimes I actually see them and they're usually really big. That's how I could tell who they are. And sometimes they'll give me a name, but they're very customized to that person. They usually have extremely enormous amounts of love that they come through with. That's another reason why, there's no negative energies. And so then we go into the part of like light and dark, oh, well, what about that dark thing? I've seen dark energies. And then I found out they're my family. So that has nothing to do, if you think about the dark, oh my gosh, we had such a couple years ago, it was so like, oh, well, don't say dark or don't say black, white and black, it's like, because that's going into a racial thing. You know what I'm saying? Everything is good. When we attach something bad to it, it is our perception. It is our lack of awareness and our lack of light to it. Okay. Think of the blackness. When I had an NDE, it was completely black. It was so incredibly black. There was no light. You know what I'm saying? And that lack of contrast, even though I could see, which was really fascinating, NDE is a near-death experience. When I went through that process and actually met God, and I put God in quotes because it wasn't how it seemed. You could watch my video on that. It wasn't a dude on a cloud, or anybody who had an opinion. It wasn't even a being. Anyway, that energy of that darkness was so enormously filled with love. I can't even explain it to you, and I'm not even going to, because it's beyond the concept of what we believe. So again, it's all a belief. Where was I? So this, when we have someone, so when I have someone say, "Oh, well, how do you know it's not the devil talking to you?" I know that because it's just like how you have regular thoughts of like, "Oh, you know what? I wonder, I really am hungry for some ice cream." And then all of a sudden you're in the grocery store and you're looking, you're like, "Oh my gosh, ice cream's on sale." That's psychic intel. That's the only thing I'm doing. So I tapped into that so purposely and survive for my own survivability at a very young age. I continued to work with that. And because I continued to work with that, I developed my psychic phenomena of being able to really use it as my talent, as something that comes, it doesn't come easily, it comes fluidly, for me. And so I practice as my own meditation, as my own service to myself, because it's always for myself, always first for myself. Everything else is, everybody gets to benefit from that light. But my identity and my understanding and my belief is always for my highest good. And then that's me expanding out to share it with everybody else. Okay. So the devil doesn't exist in my world, in my understanding. And if it exists in yours, that's okay. That might be helpful. It might be helpful in the sense of that it helps you stop maybe doing things that aren't really healthy. It's kind of like when people smoke, I don't tell them stop smoking. I say, what is it giving you? What's the offering there? So if you need the devil in your life in that way of understanding right or wrong, instead of doing it for other people, do it for yourself. Hey, I don't want to be around, like, if that person's like the devil, that makes me fearful. Okay, what don't I really want to be around? Well, that person challenges me. That person makes me feel things that contradict my life, contradict my belief. That makes me feel uncomfortable. So you go to that place because that's what's really happening. And maybe the devil is helping you wake you up to more, instead of more judgment, wake you up to the opportunity that you can offer love, not just to another person, but to yourself, to the part of you that feels so alienated and constantly needs a group, constantly needs more people to believe what you believe. Imagine you were to believe you were the only one that believed that. Would you stick with that belief? Most people would say no. That's why they congregate in a congregation of getting more people to believe what they believe. I will say yes. For me, I made sure, for my oath to myself, that no matter what I believe, I have to be the one person that believes it. And that's it. And the best part about living this way is knowing and me saying all my beliefs can change like that. I've had it happen, where I'm like, oh my God, I thought that was true. And then I realized time isn't true. Oh my gosh, I thought this was real. That is not real, all those. And so I'm constantly in the state of inquiry, of understanding. There will never be a success point. I will never get to the end of like, okay, well, now I know. I don't know. I always say I'm going to write a book called The Psychic Who Didn't Know She's Psychic, or The Psychic Who Doesn't Know Anything, because that's what I do. All I'm doing is showing up to whatever wants to come through in the highest light form, okay, in the highest form of love, whatever wants to show up in the highest form of love, that is available for me and my client. Okay? Just remember, Christianity created the devil. So it's your choice to believe in it. So psychicness, like we just described, that was psychic is psychic is a state of being. Okay. So it's just another sense. We have our seeing, hearing, tasting, touching, feeling, all those different things. And those types of understandings is that psychicness, the sixth sense, is just another sense. It's not anything like you don't be like, oh my gosh, that person sees, they must have the devil in them. Okay. That person tastes things, they must have the devil in them. Okay. We're all psychic. Ta-da, surprise. So there's not something stopping us from our own selves and our own awakening. Okay. The only thing that's stopping us is us because we're afraid. Please don't be afraid. Have some inquiry of listening to yourself. Again, doesn't come through the ears. It's like it can come through the ears, but that's not as common. So it's just like pay attention to your little things. You think something, it just shows up. You're like, oh my gosh, is my phone spying on me? Maybe, but it also might be working with you. Okay. Give validation to everything lovely showing up. Okay. Again, it's not about protecting you. You are already protected. You're a divine child of the universe. Okay. You are super, super, super protected. Even if you are dead, you are still protected. You are protected through the whole process of that dying. Okay. So in that understanding, and I could go deeper on that, but that's another thing because there's so much about that. But in the overall, when you are understanding psychicness, you're understanding your divine alignment. It's just like how we understand that we only use like 10% of the brain. We only use a tiny part of our brain. Like what? You know what I'm saying? I mean, that's scientific fact. So that's the same thing. All I'm doing is expanding my brain, expanding my consciousness. That's it. Okay. So to Jesus. Oh, Jesus. So, like I said in the very beginning, I'm not Christian. I'm not anything. I am not, like I did say before, I do go to a church. It's not a church, it's a fellowship. But for those to understand what that is, it is a interfaith. So it has multiple faiths, meaning you can believe whatever you want. You know what I'm saying? As long as it's, of the love consciousness. We don't practice any negativity in that way or no harm, just pure love. So it's UU, so Unitarian Universalism. So you could look up UU fellowship or church just church in quotes. So a UU congregation, there's tons of them all over the US, I know, and elsewhere. So definitely look at if there's one near you. That would be very helpful if you're ever interested in more like-minded people that celebrate your energy, of what you align with. It's really nice because I love my fellowship, or I love my UU fellowship and members, whatever, that go there, mainly because I just get to go as Vanessa. You know what I'm saying? I'm not even known as a psychic. I'm not known as anything. I don't have to have that kind of like bravado or that label. I don't even have to have a label. That's really it. I go there for my own pure peace. And then also in the sense of, sharing that just even quietly, like through their meditations or stuff like that, of that, just stuff that I can share in that energy of that space is really important to me. It fills me, in that way. Yeah. So it's really great. So Jesus, Jesus is, kind of like, most people, Christian people, think of Jesus as, their holy savior and stuff like that. There's a lot of I'm not going to go into the theology and so forth because there is a lot of contradictive stuff. There is actually a lot of energies or people that were known as Jesuses. I think there was like 27 or something. Please like look that up, and you can find that out yourself. You could look up Zeitgeist and stuff like that. That movie, that was really good. Because they have the whole kind of same Jesus 3-day, resurrection, all the crucifixion, and then also the 12 disciples and the 3 wise men. They're all the same. So all these different people had the same storyline. So pre Jesus. So that's something definitely, if you're ever interested, research. You could just do Zeitgeist movie. That's a pretty good one. And further educate yourself in other ways. Again, every single thing is just from someone else's perspective. Okay. So what else did I want to talk about Jesus? Oh, I kind of funny when a lot of people would say to me throughout my life and throughout my career, oh, well, I don't listen to psychics, or I don't do that. I'm not interested in that, or I don't like that. Essentially, I don't like that. I don't like you, because I believe in Jesus, which just cracks me up because I'm like, I believe in Jesus. I love Jesus. Jesus is totally my pal. You know what I'm saying? I bring Jesus in all the time, which I do, to be very honest. Even though I'm not of the Christian stamped faith, but I believe in a lot of people and energies, and Jesus being one of many, But I always thought it was really funny because I was just like, well, do you pray? And they're like, yeah, I pray. I'm like, so you're talking to Jesus? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, that's mediumship. If you're talking to a dead dude, that's mediumship. That's the same thing I'm doing. Okay. How do you know you're not talking to the devil then? So it's just kind of like that. It's just kind of like that's as simple as it is. And that's how humorous and ridiculous it is of why I'm creating this video, So it's just kind of like talk to what moves you, what you relate to. So I have a lot of, specifically, especially in the beginning, I used to have a lot of Catholic people that would come to me, a lot. And I was like, why do I have so many Catholic people? And I realized it was probably because, excuse me, they were very aligned and fluent with angels. And I was like, oh, probably that's why or whatever. And so one of the things I always would tell people is that keep your belief. Okay. So when you come and see me or any psychic, doesn't matter, you do not have to believe what they believe. Okay. You're showing up for more intel, not intel, more intel in being able to access yourself, your highest consciousness more. That's all you're doing. Okay. I'm not telling you anything you don't know. You might not know it literally, like in your mind. So I'm helping you explore and open up that channel to you. That's what I'm doing, and I have the talent to do that because of almost 30 years of practice. Okay. And professional practice. I'm not talking about like, oh, I was just born with it, kind of thing. Okay. So, so when you have Jesus, and when you have that kind of affliction of like, oh, well, if I believe in Jesus, then I can't believe in this. It's just kind of like, well, why? So where's the fear? Okay. Who put that fear there? Okay. Because that's a belief. That might not be your fear. It might be somebody else's fear that was publicized. You know what I'm saying? And then if you're a Christian, you have to believe in everything. That's not true at all. As you can tell, there's a million different types of Christianity. Okay. Because this person didn't believe that type of congregation, then they made another congregation. So nobody believes, even if you're Christian, like in Christianity, that you all believe the same thing and you're all following the same thing. You do not, which is great. You're not supposed to. We're actually never supposed to. We're not supposed to be in a group, but we like groups because they help us nurture what we believe until we believe the dogma of it, Let me So I could give you an example. So authority as incontrovertibly truth. So it's basically a rejection of political dogma. That would be an example. So what does dogma mean in simple words? A fixed and especially religious belief or set of beliefs that people are expected to accept without any doubts. Okay, so that's that. There's so much dogma around all of this about what we're talking about: Jesus, psychic, devil. Okay, all of it. So when we talk about Jesus, can we accept Jesus as however we accept him to ourselves? It doesn't have to be what, I don't know, Mary over here believes in Jesus. Well, he was my husband, or, well, be quiet, Mary. You know what I'm saying? It's just like Jesus was very different to her than Jesus is to me. And so when I will tell you, even as a non-Christian person, there's plenty of times I pray to Jesus, because I pray to Jesus, I pray to Buddha, I pray to a whole bunch of different energies, a lot that I don't even, think about in that way, because I'm like, why not bring in the whole thing? Same thing of why I say, bring in your spirit team. I call your spirit team your loved ones, your spirit guides, loved ones, and angels. But it's just like there's so much other energies around it. But we're not going to get into all those. So I just called a spirit team, So it's the same thing. So when I'm praying, I bring in everybody, especially when it's like really like, I need help. I cannot do this. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to do this by myself, even though my ego sure does, but I do not. And I speak above my ego. So make it your friend, question the dogma of it. So when you say, Jesus, well, I don't believe in psychicness because I believe in Jesus, that's a belief. Okay. Question your belief. Doesn't mean that your belief is wrong. And that's where a lot of people go to. It's just like, well, you're telling me that I'm wrong. I'm not telling you anything. I'm telling you I love you. You know what I'm saying? But when I'm telling you, okay, hold on. Something's happening in my thing. But hopefully I'm going to end soon anyway. What I'm telling you is that I love you, and that this type of controversy that's very of this world. Okay. And we're learning to love beyond it. That's our sole purpose. So instead of trying to fight it of what's right and what's wrong, do the inquiry of how can I be Jesus? Okay. How can I allow myself to be intuitive, and it doesn't have to be labeled? Okay. As long as it's in the highest form of love. And how can I understand the devil as a metaphor? And it could be used. I consider the devil ego. You know what I'm saying? Doesn't mean that it should be exterminated. It means it should be used, not misused. Okay. So when we use these beliefs in their highest form, they work for us. Okay. And then it doesn't hurt anyone. Okay, my loves, I hope that cleared up something. Hopefully there won't have to be too many part twos on this. Enjoy it. If you need to revisit it to hear all the beginning stuff that I talked about, that would be awesome too. Please make sure that you share this with people that might feel really ambivalent, especially those who feel that they are in a lot of fear about, and they have maybe so much lack of understanding about this, that every single thing comes from a place of source of love. And it is really only our beliefs that we poison that well. So the more we can love everybody in how they are, as long as they're not hurting people, you know what I'm saying, in a higher way, not in your belief way, in a higher way, that they are honoring and being peaceful and loving themselves, please be peaceful and loving towards them. It doesn't mean you have to believe what they believe. It just means that you have to allow everyone to be their beautiful self in the highest form of love and light. I love you.